Ladies and gentlemen, I have something to tell you. I have never survived 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore, and as a matter of fact, I have not even come close to it. So seeing the success of my most recently uploaded Minecraft video, and my unquenchable thirst of surviving 100 days in Hardcore, it was a no-brainer that I would make this video. So with that in mind, grab something to drink, relax, and let's get straight into this. So right off the bat, as soon as I entered the game, I started chopping down trees to make the bare minimum equipment and get some food. And then immediately follow that up by attempting to find a village, since it would indefinitely make for a crucial point into becoming eventually broken in this world. And I was happy that my search was successful barely 5 minutes into searching. From there, I immediately started still borrowing all of my future neighbors slash slaves furniture and loot, since they wouldn't need it anymore. And then did the obvious by trying to find a cave system that would make me starter rich, as I like to call it. Oh, I also forgot to mention that just before doing that I made a very early and quite honestly bad blueprint of a house which you will either relate to considering the simplicity in design or be downright disgusted by it, but moving along I found a cave and started searching for all of its resources. And its resources I found, but not before encountering a semi-heart attack by being at 1 heart and actively having a skeleton hunt me down. After narrowly escaping that fiasco, I resumed my work on the house by applying what some might call basic stuff, aka glass, to have windows, and still haven't activated them. I gathered a fat stack of wood and even created a second roof to my square New York apartment complex that may or may not still be lacking proper tiles. Next thing on my agenda was filling and somewhat filtering an entire floor for my storage area, and after a little bit of work, it was completed. Hey, look, I even added floor tiles. I think that by now you'll have most likely understood the point that I'm trying to make, which is that I'm not really a house kind of guy.
She belongs to the streets.
Even though in my mental checklist I had a check for completing an entire house, I can let you know right now that that did in fact not happen. And this is essentially all the house progress I made, with a few exceptions. So now I'm going to let you know in regards to the next exciting and one of many things that I'll be making in this video, and that is a fully automated crop farm which required a lot of materials to complete. At least a lot of materials for this stage of the game. This is also a perfect time to let you know that every single farm I did, or if there was simply anything that I needed help with, should you want to replicate anything I built in this server by yourself, a YouTube guide to assist you will be linked down in the description below. I then very kindly welcomed some unwanted visitors into their inevitable demise and even cleared out the area that I'll be building my crop farm, which I clearly forgot to mention before. After which I went down to the mines again to find some more loot, an excess of mob spawners, and my main objective, which was obsidian to further progress my world. Upon returning I did the obvious, such as free up some space, along with burning all the iron that I had made, and probably the rookiest, most stupid decision of my life that cost me days in Minecraft alongside real life due to my continuous regret being that I decided to do the entire farm from smooth stone. Now, I know what some of you may say, it's not a hard resource to find, nor is it costly, which is absolutely true, but what it really is time consuming. Now this time negated could very much so be nullified by increasing the amount of furnaces that were burning, but no, I didn't, and instead opted to have the simple 2 furnaces that I had, one for cobblestone to stone and one for stone to smooth stone. While everything was slowly burning, I prepped the needed resources, which consisted of the following things listed on screen cause I ain't saying all that. And then you put everything together, and once again you can check the tutorials themselves in the description box below so that I can skip the tedious job of detailed explanations on stuff I barely get a grasp on how they work, for this and all the following projects. Right after completing it, which looks like this, well, without glasses anyway, but here it is with glasses. Beautiful. I went to start building below my house to enlarge the amount of space and rooms I had for other necessary things, such as the nether portal, which in fact did not give me a terrible spawn, and immediately started protecting it with cobblestone, because that thing is like so busted. I don't know why. Back on the surface I collected and quote-unquote an immense number of wool alongside wood, which would be needed for increasing the number of villagers the village had, because I had already taken a few and it didn't and it didn't have many left to support the other 50 billion things I may need in the future. So taking care of that now alongside the villagers to grow in number as the challenge goes on by would be a reassuring and necessary goal that I had in mind. While I was doing that, I might have run into a small enchanted iron shovel type of problem. Don't worry, I only forgot to draw oxygen into my lungs for a couple of minutes, which slowly stabilized as I started making beds next morning alongside a very eye-pleasing house.
Eye-pleasing house.
We're gonna hang out and watch a movie.
Eye-pleasing house. Specifically for your viewing pleasure. And hey, I also made a small little wheat farm that upon reviewing the footage I never touched again. On to something a lot more interesting. I started gathering the ingredients required to make myself a fully automated iron farm, which needs the following things on screen once again. Though before I skip and show you guys what the farm looks like, I just wanted to say that getting villagers from point A to point B is infuriating and should be classified as a downright crime that the devs can't let you lead them. Upon second guessing it though, leading humans is probably not a good idea. Let's not repeat history here. However, here's the farm in all of its glory. And now the next quest in my agenda is slowly making the underground layer of my house somewhat appealing to the human eye, since I am creating a YouTube video here. And according to the footage provided by me. That is exactly what I did, and everyone please forgive me for I repeated the mistake I clearly hadn't learned from before, which of course was making the rooms underground of smooth stone instead of anything else. So from here on out, since there is a much more of a development on the internal structure that holds all of my belongings, I will now tell you all the work I did, then move on to the actual fun stuff. I split the area below into 3 main rooms. First is the nether portal room, the nether portal room, the nether portal room, which outside of the portal itself and some good old netherward on the side, this room saw no further developments, at least for this 100 days video. Secondly, we have a brewing room which does exactly what you think. And last but most definitely not least, we have an enchantment room which also needs no explaining. With those 3 rooms completed, we have essentially completed the majority of the backbone work required for my ultimate goal. All that's missing is simply a lot of farms, along with the Ender Dragon and Wither, which shall all see their one slightly prolonged demise due to my inexperience with Minecraft Hardcore and me taking things very slowly. Moving along, however, I went into the Nether in search of the Nether Castle for blaze rods, bastions for really good gear, along with a netherite upgrade smithing table and a lot of magma cubes. With the exception of the bastion, for now the other 2 tasks proved successful, which allowed me not only the chance to start creating potions for myself, but also start the beginning of a new and possibly one of the most influential farms in the entire potential series, which is a creeper farm. Not only for TNT to excavate the nether faster and more efficiently, but also for an infinite amount of fireworks later down the line. At this point you already know the farm details, so here it is, but I would like to mention one thing. Usually in any AFK farm it is required for the player to go to a specific height, which in this case was 120 blocks, but I did not follow that rule up to a T, since I speculated that the block height was only an estimate rather than an actual coordinate from the farm's location, which proved to be a couple of days worth of a mistake due to my time spending trying to figure out what the issue was with the farm when the mistake was mine to begin with, because of my positioning. So this is a note not only for my future self but also to save you guys both some time. Now, from day 56 to day 64, OBS decided to record a frame and only sound and refresh the frame every 30 to 45 seconds. Thank you OBS, very cool. Now, to save you the time and most importantly your eyes, here's a super quick explanation of what I did. First, I sat at the AFK farm for a little bit to collect some gunpowder, then did some inventory management and went to the nether to gather some quartz and even found myself a bastion which landed me to the very useful and ultimately time-saving smith table. And after that, get home, where I in fact went to the mines to find no iron, gold, redstone, no diamonds, but rather coal, because all the smooth stone that I've been yapping about this entire time has drained my storages dry. Well, some extra diamonds never hurt now, did they? And by extra, roughly about a stack worth. Editor, put the exact number on screen. However, following that up, I did some maintenance work like arranging storages, melting resources with the newly renewed coal reserves, and then quite the exaggerated yet necessary task of AFK gunpowder farming. Couple that with some sand gathering and also what appears to be some Rocket League gameplay with the homies while AFK farming, which I must say has to be one of the most efficient ways of multitasking. Not only is your boy out here recording, but he's also simultaneously grinding Rocket League. Hey, ain't nobody doing it like I'm doing it. And as such, with the 54 TNT in my hand, all that's missing is a sweet savory ancient debris. Ladies and gentlemen, the amount that I managed to gather from that entire fiasco was 2. Yes, this is not a joke. Yes, I in fact need some mental assistance, and yes, I did do all the things that I believe you're supposed to do. I was at height 13, I used TNT to blow up the place to see wider and further for any potential ores, and even did all the chunk borders, which, for those of you who don't know, there's a specific number of blocks that go in height, width, and length, which all make out for a chunk, and the exact number will be displayed on screen, and I'm apologizing to my editor in advance. Please don't look for me. And even after doing that, it turns out that I was only able to get 2. Nevertheless, I began construction on a remotely above average quadrilateral building, which would temporarily house some of the more important villagers, which would, for example, consist of a librarian who would give me the much needed mending book. That, for the record, took an absurd amount of time. Whilst I was doing that, I recruited another librarian that gave me the Silk Touch, which would indefinitely prove to be useful, as well as build the bookshelves to start fully enchanting everything. These were not all the villagers that were recruited for now, however these 2 were the important ones, considering that the rest were simply there to boost the economy. My economy. After grabbing a couple of extra resources and slaughtering roughly 4 generations of horses for their leader, I went up to the iron farm to check why it wasn't working, but turns out that even virtual working stations need a break from time to time due to its small time of inactivity, which never happened again upon randomly resuming, slaying the poor souls of iron golems. Regardless, the neighboring village housed a very suspicious yet welcomed colony, I might say, worth of food, which was, without a doubt, a nice addition to my semi-infinite food reserves, and I say semi due to the need to exchange that food for emeralds.
I want all of the Chaos Emeralds!
So it has more places to go. Other than that, the next couple of days were spent very peacefully, gathering more resources, completing the enchanting table, and even getting a fairly decent starting set of enchantments for all of my armor and tools which would be needed for what was to come. Which of course is the fight with the Ender Dragon, which your average Minecraft hardcore YouTuber has completed by day 3. Yet here am I trying to give this video a semi-grand finale, but just before doing that I need to get myself some Ender Pearls, and since I can't be bothered to RNG kill and hope for Ender Pearls from Enderman, what I can do is bribe the life out of these piglins, and since I had an abundance of unused gold, the Nether is the location that these pieces of unfiltered gold carrots and apples would be used. After getting borderline scammed, I got the needed pearls which would allow me to enter the end portal. However, I must get myself ready, and I did that by AFKing at the creeper farm to pre-fire the need for gunpowder for fireworks upon receiving the elytra. And after gathering enough food and resources, I went immediately to the end portal, which was surprisingly very close to my house, being a couple of 100 blocks away. Entering the end portal sent chills down my spine since I had done everything up to this point and was very close to finishing not only the game in theoretical terms, but also the completion of the 100 days hardcore challenge. If you're curious as to how this fight went on, it's really boring because I did not desire to throw myself this entire playthrough out of the window, and I started very, and I mean very slowly. Picking the towers apart and watching them fall one by one was a satisfying feeling. Just don't show all the misses I made during the fight. And after that, it was like dominoes. From taking out the dragon by standing on the portal exit, to entering the end city and taking the elytra, and ultimately to the beginning of the end, which at first looked like farming and bartering with the villagers, along with some extra enchantments from all the XP we gathered via defeating the Ender Dragon, and even a little bit of exploration on some of the nearby villagers and getting an abundant amount of enchanting books to have ready for when I can finish gathering the proper levels needed. Now begins the final part of this video, which would prove to be very simple for the most part, yet a little bit risky. Throughout this entire time I have gone back and forth in terms of my need for XP, and I believe that I cannot possibly end this video after building myself a self-crop farm, iron farm, AFK gunpowder farm, and even laid the foundations for multiple projects in the future, such as AFK trading hall for villagers, and even a sugarcane farm, without building a proper XP farm. That also gives me ender pearls, and as such, not only the final part of this video, but also the race against time begins as I build an Enderman XP farm. The materials needed will be displayed on screen. This would turn out to be very tricky, since not only did I misjudge the amount of blocks I would need, I also needed to make a handful of trips back to the overworld to gather these things, and couple that with what appears to be an incapability to find the end portal at the most crucial time, and you can see why I was worried. Thankfully, after a lot of manual and tedious work, I was able to establish the final farm and get everything I wanted within the first 100 days of this challenge, done at the 99th day mark, which was so relieving. And as for the final day, all I did was grind the Enderman farm, fly and do a little bit of exploration, finally grab the end egg because I didn't do that the first time, and finally end it all with some more AFK gunpowder farm so that I may catch the sunrise, which would conclude this video. Thank you ladies and gents so much for watching. Simply let me know if you enjoyed the video and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Later.